Nicks and bruises, we are back. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black is time. I got the queen back in the building with me. Appreciate you, queen. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Enjoyed the holiday. Hopefully you did as well.
I did. I went to Canada for the first time.
Oh,
Niagara
nice.
Falls. Check that out. It was nice. It was nice. Good to I got my passport a couple months ago, so it was good to utilize that for the first time.
Yeah.
And looking forward to doing some more traveling.
Yeah, for sure. That's on my list for this year coming as well. But yeah, at the last minute, I had a 5-day weekend. At the last minute, I decided I was going to just get a plane and go down to Georgia for 5 days. And I think I booked that ticket on a Tuesday or something like that. And I actually flew out Thanksgiving morning. So
Yeah, I left Thanksgiving Day. It was last minute as well. It wasn't
yeah,
planned,
yeah,
but it was available, and it was great to spend some time with some family.
for sure.
Um, yeah, man. 20 games in, the assessment point, the evaluation point. We've always saying, let's give it some time to evaluate the team. It's early in the season. I just figured this is a great time to kind of assess what we've seen so far, what we like. I'll start off by saying 12-8 was the exact record I predicted after 20. So no matter how I feel about how we got there, you know what I mean. I gotta be happy in that. They're right where I projected them to be.
Right.
Um, but yeah, how you feeling about where we are, how we got here? You know what I mean, and I guess where we're headed. We could break them down into three different conversations, but um where we are now, 20 games in, how you feeling?
I'm feeling optimistically. Is it cautiously
Yeah,
optimistic?
yep, cautiously optimistic.
Because for me, it's not about the record. For me, it's about, do we have a team that can win a championship? And I know there's different ways to win a championship, um, but you can't be have the 30th ranked defense. Not that we do, So I'm happy with what I'm seeing on the offensive end. I'm happy with what I'm seeing from Towns. I'm happy with what I'm seeing from at least Miles McBride and campaign off of our bench. Um, and what's possible, when Precious and Mitchell Robinson return. Um, but yeah, big picture, thinking about where we're stacking up after 20 games in terms of winning a championship. Still a little concerned about the defense, but super happy that I trust the front office that they would be able to pivot if needed.
Mm, okay. Um, I like where we are. Like I like where we are. Just considering, I know we're not done, and when I say we're not done, I don't mean like transition transactions wise. I'm saying this team currently as constructed
Right.
um is still not peaked. You know what I mean? Like we're still kind of scratching the surface, and surprising me in a lot of senses. Um, I feel like Brunson's having a career year, like a quiet career year. You know what I mean? Like it took some stats that I brought up a couple weeks ago that kind of made me realize, oh man, I've been down on Brunson this year, but he's actually playing his best basketball. Um, his assists is up. You know what I mean? And I think that's gonna continue. Um, yeah, he's doing his thing. Cat, um, I wasn't a big fan of the trade, so just looking at what he's brought when he's coming, um, I think he's having a career year as well. Josh Hart is having a career year. Like I'm just and granted, I don't know if these guys are gonna end in career year numbers, but
Right, right, right,
but like this means a lot considering everything as a whole. We haven't really put it all together yet.
right.
Um, so even the 20, sorry, even the 12-8 record, like I look at that, but I know it could have been better. You know, there's a couple of games we didn't show up to, a couple of games we lost down the stretch that
Mhm.
I feel like we should have won. So the record could be even better than better than it is. Um, so yeah, I'm like, I'm not super amped by the record just in itself, but just to know that it's going to be a lot more growth for this team as the season moves on. You know what I mean? That's what's got me. I'll just say optimistic. It's not as cautious per se. There's things that do concern me, and we'll
Mhm.
get into that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I'm super optimistic because I think offensively, where we are is tops in the league. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean, top five or whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
but tops in the league, and it could really end up best in the league as far as offensively.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's super exciting for me. Concerning obviously defense, protecting the paint, which you know was always a staple of Tibbs, and we really haven't kind of touched anywhere where we've been in previous years under Tibbs. I'm not blaming Cat for that. I know that stat is out there as far as he's worst in the league protecting the rim as far as the percentages he gives up. Um, what's your thoughts on that particular stat with Cat, and how concerned are you defensively?
I mean, I think that is evident. I mean, like there's sometimes you'll see a stat and then the eye test doesn't bear it out. But that's a stat that the eye test bears it out. He's not a good rim protector. However, I don't think you can win a championship without a rim protecting center, right? And I've said this multiple times. There's different aspects of defense for a center. Rim protection is not the only one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, pick and roll defense, post defense, help defense. There's different aspects of, you know, of defense. So rarely do you find, or I shouldn't say rarely. Um, I'm not sure how often you find someone that's elite or very good in every area. Maybe more often than I think. He's not a good rim protector. How is he doing in those, you know, in those other areas? And how are we doing as a team? So to me, you know, I would have to look at all of the other aspects of his defense,
Mm-hmm.
particularly. Um, but as a team, we have work to do all around. I think we like to point to towns, but we have work to do all around.
Yeah, the team stats are almost like identical to his in a sense. Like we're the worst. We're at the bottom of the league as far as defending the paint in general. So it's not like obviously he contributes to that, but I don't think he's the deciding factor in that.
Because
Um
before they get to Cat, they got to go through, you know, other players as well.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's a team, you know, it's a team thing.
Is if there was a if you wanted to defend Cat defensively, is there an area that just from the eye test, I know you haven't looked anything up, but where you would say, all right, he is good at this, he does do this well. um and before you answer, I actually want to say, because I've mentioned this in the past as well, like it's not like he can't block shots, right? It's more of a sense to me, like he doesn't instill any fear in the sense that he's not a deterrent in any sense. You know what I mean? He could block a shot at any, you know what I mean, at any time potentially, and like he still block shots. You know what I mean, during the game. It's like it's not like he can't do it or he's incapable, or you know what I mean. I just think he gets attacked without any resistance, like from that player himself. You know what I mean? Like there's no deterrent factor.
Tony, he's not a rim protector. He has never been a rim protector. And I just think we just need to let that go. That's just not who he is. that doesn't mean he can't be a good defensive player because there are other aspects to defense, right? You look at, I just read an article about Jericho Sims. Statistically,
Number one.
what I'm saying in terms of counting stats, I should say, you look at the box score a lot, he doesn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just rim protection. They talk, it's his pick and roll defense. It's when to switch. Is so the point I'm trying to make is we tend to put a lot on rim protection, but there's more to defense than rim protection. Can he
Well,
get where is he in those other, in those other areas?
I agree, but I'm saying Tibbs puts a lot on rim protection. Like that's been the you like one of his emphasis
Then he
on
shouldn't have traded for Carl Anthony Towns.
but
I mean, listen, when he traded for Carl Anthony Towns, he knew he was not a rim protector. There's like even Tibbs has to understand that there's multiple ways to have a good defense without having a rim protector. And I'm pretty sure it hasn't worked out this way up to this point. I'm pretty sure he even thought, listen, even if we don't have great rim protection,
a
we got good
perimeter.
perimeter. We got good perimeter defense. I think he'll be adequate in pick and roll defense. I think he's good in one on one defense. I read or listened to. I don't know if I listened to a podcast or read in those other areas of defense. He's pretty good. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I have to check that. This was weeks ago. I have to check where he is now except for rim protection. When you look at Jericho Sims, he doesn't block shots, but he offers some. To me, it seemed like they just be all right. I ain't gonna take nothing away from Jericho Sims, but he's
And,
there where he's supposed to be, and they miss. So, but Towns is not the issue. Our point of attack defense is not great with Mikal Bridges. Our rotations are, to me, I think the Knicks overreact on from the dribble. I don't know if that's the scheme or not. It's just too much double teaming before a person even gets
is
into a
in the
pick.
threat. Yeah.
So now you overrode. Now all they got now you in rotation. All they got to do is swing the ball and find the open guy. A lot of times the Knicks don't rotate on the pass; they rotating on the catch. And there's times when the Knicks really do have good possessions. They just don't string enough of them together consistently.
It's crazy because those are some of the things to me that hinder Carl Anthony Towns. You know what I mean? Like because of what that leaves him in as the last line of defense. Whether that's his
Strength or
skill
not.
set or not, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's still putting him in the least possible or at least beneficial position possible,
Right.
as opposed to theoretically what we all thought and saw coming in. If these
Right.
guys are doing their jobs better as the elite defenders that we believe they are
Hmm.
in Macau, you know what I mean? OG, even Hart in a sense, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like him being that last line of the fence doesn't become as big
Right.
of what I mean a detriment. And then to my what I'm saying when I say he can block shots, then those opportunities become more
Hmm.
important or easier for him.
Yeah.
There's a stat going around, and what all right, it says the leaderboard among centers defensive field goal percentage 5 feet or closer to the rim, minimum 15 games. Jericho Sims is number one at 33%. That stat was around at 9 games as well. Like that was the first time I seen this stat going around, was after 9 games. Um, and then someone asked Tibbs about playing. I mean, asked Tibbs about playing Sims and Cat together, and Tibbs said it is something he was looking into, but because of the lack of center depth and the fact that Carl had got injured or nicked up, and he gave a bunch of excuses as to why playing practice time, why we haven't seen it yet. Um, do you think that would help? one, Sims in general, because he's here and available um now currently. Um, do you think Precious helps when he returns? There's been I guess he's about a week away. So or within the week we should be seeing Precious. And then ultimately when Mitchell Robinson returns, um do you think this is Tibbs just opening the door for us seeing another big alongside him, or do you think, because honestly that's the only true answer for me that I think will turn us around defensively, um pairing, pardon me, pairing Cat with a Mitchell Robinson, um pairing him again with a Precious, even with Precious OG Bridges, that might be a lot even more defensive help for him in a sense. So do you think one, do you think we'll see it with Sims?
Mhm.
I think it's less likely because Precious is coming back. But do you think we'll see it with Sims, and then do you think we'll see it with Precious and or Mitch when they return?
All right. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of reframe the sentiment
Hmm.
that Karl Anthony Towns is what's wrong with our defense. It's not Karl Anthony Towns. The Knicks have multiple issues for the reason why we're 21st or whatever we are in defense, and it's not just Karl Anthony Towns. Number one. Number two, and I feel very strongly about this. I do not. We're shoring up our defense at what expense on the offensive end? And this is something I feel very strongly about. If you want to pair Towns with a non shooting center who's not going to command any attention for a few minutes a game, I think that's fine. If you want to have that versatility on your bench that you can go to in certain situations, I think that's fine. I am not one who wants to see Karl Anthony Towns minutes paired with a center most of the time, because whatever you're going to gain defensively, you're going to give up offensively, and you might be able to get away with that in the regular season, but there's no way you're getting away with that in the playoffs, where teams prey on your weakness, and having somebody in the lineup who doesn't command any attention in the playoffs. I'm talking in a series, is going to make things difficult for you. This is what I would like the Knicks to do: leave the offense the way it is. And if you feel like your defense is not good enough, maybe you need to go outside of this roster and
Mm.
make some changes and bring in somebody you can put next to Karl Anthony Towns who
That
can
doesn't
rebound,
hurt the offense.
play defense, and doesn't hurt the offense. Like we're acting like we're locked in. I guess for right now we are locked into Sims and Mitchell Robinson when he gets back. But we're not locked into them for all time,
Hmm.
you know? So if you needed to me, Precious would be the better option,
Absolutely.
because he's going to command some respect on the offensive end. It's not even about whether he scores a lot of points. He's going to command some respect on the offensive end. Maybe. He's
And,
kind of like in that Josh Hart, like teams might just say we gotta give up somebody, we gotta lay off of somebody. All right, let it be Josh Hart. All
to
right,
your
let it be Precious.
to your point, I was just gonna say he's the guy that can hurt the other team if they take that stance. You know
Right,
what I mean? Like he's the most mobile big. You know what I mean? So he's the guy that could play that same type of role. Um, as far as like the backdoor cutting, the
right,
movement, the you
right.
know what I mean, like not being stagnant. Like he'll fill that void. Um, and then to your point, or just to piggyback, I think that would leave Josh Hart as the guy most likely you want to leave off the floor. And you know what I mean, if you're pairing Cat with a big, you know what I mean, you're probably gonna leave. But to Josh Hart's credit, career. You know what I mean? He's shooting the ball well. He's doing everything. Like he's really been kind of flawless in a sense. He's
Mhm.
hurting teams when they leave him open. You know what I mean? Like he's confident in his shot. Like you can't really say anything bad about Josh Hart's performance thus far this year. So it would be interesting. Like, but I would just say, you know, if you got to take somebody off the court to pair, Towns with a big, my I would agree with you. Precious is probably the best suited, where we're not gonna lose as much offensively, and then the guy that we got to take off the floor, would be Josh Hart. Um, but Mikal hasn't been really having a great year either. Um, Shout out to him for his bounce back performance, and I'm gonna get into that next. Um, yeah, let's get right into that. He got benched, the previous game down the stretch. Hasn't really performed. Do you think the benching, let me premise by saying I always thought he's gonna turn it around. You know what I mean? Like he'll figure it out. But do you think the benching helped jumpstart that in a sense? Because the talk has been going on all year. Obviously, the talk has hit the Knicks in team with Josh Hart addressing it 2 games ago.
Right.
Um, Tibbs addressing it again. I mean, as well 2 games ago, and then actually, benching him down the stretch. I think that's the second time he got benched too, down the stretch. But do you think that helped Mikal? And do you think, all right, now we're gonna start seeing the? Do you think it's time we start seeing him, bounce back as we both thought he would?
Yeah. So for me, I don't see 31 points as about like Mikal. So what's the complaint that he wasn't scoring enough points? I mean, on this particular team, how many points are you expecting him to score?
Well,
So
I
to
think it
me,
was he was shooting. He wasn't shooting the ball well. 30% from three. And then somebody mentioned it in the
like
oh Treadles.
18%, like 18% in the non-corner threes above the break. At least that was like a few games ago when I had looked at it
Yeah,
on
he had one area from three that he was excelling from.
right.
What I
The
mean,
corner, the corner threes, the
Mhm.
above the break threes. Listen, the, I don't care that he scored 31 points. I got to be honest. I don't care. For Mikal Bridges, I need him to get his defense together. And I thought his defense was better because that's
Mhm.
what I was really
More
looking
assertive
at.
for sure.
Yeah, that's what I was. His mid range is good. His corner threes are good. He's not hitting the shots above the break. Okay, like I think that's gonna come. But for me, it's the defense because if Mikel can't get it together, then maybe now we got to move McBride into the lineup to play the point guards. Now we got to worry about rebounding potentially. So if Bridges can get it together, and I think a lot of it has been mental because I don't think you forget how to play basketball. Some of the mistakes I'm seeing him make on the defensive end, I can't believe it. Like guys blowing past him who don't really have a lot of foot speed. The way he closes out to the corner, like just like fundamental stuff.
To me,
If
his
that
screen,
gets
his defense off the screen has been
that his screen
was
navigation,
really bothered me the most this year, because I remember him either fighting through or
mhm,
fighting over screens a lot better. And this is
mhm.
not even as obviously as a Nick. This is like in Phoenix. This is in Brooklyn. But continue. My bad.
I mean, screen navigation is an issue. But when you got people, when you not closing out properly, like to me, that's a mental thing. You got Jamal Murray blowing past you. Like, what was your approach on that? But I don't know. He's just looking off defensively. So I like the way he looked defensively in the New Orleans game, and I don't know how many shots he shot above the break, but the mid range was always good. The corners was always good. So for me, for Mikal Bridges is just he handled the ball a little more. I would love to see that. Um, I, I'm with you. your initial statement, I wasn't worried long term. Like I told people, I was trying to get people to trade him to me in the fantasy in the fantasy league because I know he's gonna rebound. Let me get him while his value is low.
Get him
Um,
while the stock is low.
he he's gonna be fine. And the thing about it though, what I do remember
Hmm.
when I was watching the game, I was like, yo, if Mikal begins to approach, I would say his ceiling, some would say even his baseline,
Hmm.
this team's ceiling is through the roof.
And I mean, and that's part of why people have been down on him. Like it's not just the points, you know what I mean? It's not just the defense, because I think it's the totality. You know what I mean? It's what we gave up for him. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of people, it came out of nowhere. Like even me mentioning that however long ago it was, I never thought it was possible. You know what I mean? So it shocked everyone that it happened, and what we had to give up for him, and it went through, whatever the case. But that's part of it. You know what I mean? Like is what we gave up for him. You know what I mean? Like what we expected from him. So it's the defense. It's the collectively how he's played so far.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of people was like, "Hey, he's, second best guy on the team, third best guy
Mhm.
on the team." You know what I mean? He's kind of faltered or fell to fourth. You know what I mean? You could argue fifth because of how great Josh Hart has been playing.
Right.
So I think it's collectively why people have been so down on him.
Mhm.
Um, me in particular, like I was down on the shooting, because I
Mhm.
thought, what I mean, I thought that would be better, on the defensive end, particularly the screenings, or fighting over screens and things like that. But um yeah, I think I do think the benching kind of lit a fire under him.
Mhm.
I think that has to happen sometimes, like when Porty had that huge game played down the stretch,
Mhm.
was effective. You know what I mean? We haven't really seen Porty since. You know what I mean? Especially in meaningful minutes. But Sims has been a lot more active since that game, so I think that kind of lit a fire under Sims.
But I
Um,
don't think that was why Tibbs did it. I think he did it because Mikel's we're trying to close out this
yeah,
Charlotte game, and your point of attack defense is not good. So let me put in Miles McBride because I know his is better. Um,
and he was playing well that game.
and he was playing well. And I think when you're sitting on that bench, I don't think you're sitting there saying the coach did it on purpose. You're sitting there saying, "Yo, my play dictated this." If you're honest with yourself,
Okay,
anyway,
okay,
my play dictated this. I got to be better.
that is true. I don't think Tibbs did it as you know what I mean, like a
Motivation,
motivational thing,
right?
but I do think it definitely could have lit a fire, because number one, with Tibbs, um he tends to stick to his time frames of when to bring, you know what I mean? So it's not like it's like you're saying, this is something that's gonna sit with you internally. Like,
Right,
oh man, Tibbs didn't put me back in at the six. You know what I mean? At the 6 minute.
right, right.
Wait, it's
And it
four
was a
minutes
good
left.
decision
It's,
too.
you know what I mean? It's three, and we
Mhm.
win. You know what I mean? Like, all right, that
Yep.
that'll light. You know what I mean? Light bulb go off after that. So yeah, I'm not saying like, oh, shout out to Tibbs for, you know what I mean, lighting the spark for Bridges, but he made the right decision, and shout out to him for making the decision. You know what I mean? Because he does. I mean, especially I think Bridges leads us in minutes, right? And
Yes, he
you
does.
know what I mean? So that stand outish. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
so, you know what I mean? Coach's decision for that game. Like, you got shout out to Sim. But yeah, I think he's on his way. You know what I mean? I think he needed that. I think the team having his back vocally, Josh Hart, you know what I mean? Like things like that are encouraging. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you need to hear that. I do think the noise though has, I think
Mhm.
these guys are young enough that they're still in involved in social media to where, you know what I mean, like they on it, they hear it, they see it. Um, because the media wasn't killing Mikal like
Right.
the fans. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right.
So I think that's where that stemmed from.
And
Um,
and and,
go ahead.
and just a quick kudos to Thibodeau in that game. I felt like in that Charlotte game, I felt like in the fourth quarter, Tibbs was hustling. He put hustling to get that win. He put he did some things that he doesn't usually do. So he put McBride into close. There were a few sequences where he had Brunson out on the defensive end. He had Towns out on the defensive end. He put two bigs in to secure the rebound at the end of the game. He was like, we
Yeah,
gotta pull the punches out to to get this win, and we wound up winning by 1 point.
that you know how mad I was that game. That game we won by 1 point. That was a cup game, right? I
Mhm.
think that was an undermanned team. It like I mean a win is a win, but I was tight, yo. Like I was still with my family. They like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, the Knicks won by 1 point. They won. I'm like, yo, they was playing G League team basically.
Right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It had to scrap. Speaking of that though, 9 minutes left last game against the Pelicans. Tips, you know, took the starters out. I think 8 minutes completely because I think Deuce ain't the starter, but sat Deuce after at the 8 minute mark. But you know what I mean, cleared the bench at the 9 minute mark, and stuck with it. You know that was nice to see. You know what I mean? That was nice to see. 30-point lead. He felt confident enough that the lead
Right.
was secure
Right. Right.
secure
Right.
with
Right.
9 minutes left. So that's kudos to not just Tibbs but the team that
Right.
night. You know what I mean, to give him that confidence that all right, you know what I mean? We were playing another G League team though at that point. But
Right.
um Parrish Duggar, appreciate the super chat. He says Steph Pondy reported that Tibbs is finally practicing, pardon me, cat at the four for a bigger lineup where needed. Once we do that, we will win most of the games finally. Um
When needed is the key point.
I agree. I
When
agree.
needed is I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I'm all for that.
I was definitely not thinking he's switching the starting lineup.
Right.
Um and honestly, if he was ever going to do it as switch it would have probably been for Mitchell Robinson, and I think that ship has sailed just because of how far we're going to be into the season by the time he
Mhm. In terms of
returns.
chemistry, right?
Yeah, yeah. As far as like, because now you're talking about like you need that training camp time. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you need like a month to kind of figure that out. So I don't think he's gonna do that. And he's a guy that he's a coach that likes to see it and then make the change. So I would think he still wants that 20 game, you know what I mean, analysis point of seeing it over time, seeing it through stretches, seeing it down the stretch for this game, you know what I mean, and then make an adjustment. He's not gonna do that from jump. So I
Right.
agree with, you know what I mean, like it's always gonna be when needed.
Right.
Um
You know what this reminds me of? Remember when we was talking about small ball and like the Knicks need to play small ball for like, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes a game?
it's for
This is what this reminds me
it's
of.
for
Like
reps.
the Knicks need the reverse, right? The Knicks could benefit from a big lineup 10 to 15 minutes a game. That's it. 10 to 15 minutes a game. Even if Sims starts, doesn't matter. As long as at the end of the day it's 10 to 15 minutes, I think the Knicks are going to be good. You going for 25, 30 minutes a game? Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And it's changing, like even if that was the case, it has to progress to that, you know what I
Right.
mean. It can't be from, you know what I mean, all right, we're switching the lineup, we're switching the rotate. It has to be a gradual change based off of, what I mean, what he sees and how effective it is. So I don't think Tibbs is ever a coach to really jump the gun. if,
Right.
if he's jumping the gun on something, it's putting somebody from in the rotation to out of the rotation. You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
and that's probably just our optics of it. For him, he's
right,
been analyzing that joint for you know what I mean for
right,
some
right,
time. And
right.
so yeah. What do you think about offense? I think last 10 games we're number one in the in the league. I think we're like seventh maybe overall in like points per game. Um, but over the last 10, I think we're number one. I think we've been number one like in percentage offensive percentages all year in free
Mhm,
throws, three
mhm,
point,
mhm, mhm.
um, field goals. It's really about the volume that needs to come up for us to kind of, but still one what we at 118 117.9 I think something like that points per game.
Yeah.
um
Has our pace increased?
I don't know as of late, but I know like a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, it wasn't great, you know what I mean, like it
Right,
was bottom of
right.
the league. It wasn't what we was expecting or needing, but again I think a lot of our pace has to do with our defense. You know what I mean? Defense creating offense. I think those are the games where we see our pace increase when we're we're getting steals, we're getting leak outs, we're getting like we're not inbounding the ball. When we inbound the ball,
Mhm.
our pace is very slow.
The last 5 games, we're 18th, which is better than 29th and 30th,
Yes. Yes. Yep.
right? I think for this team, um, and let me see, the last 3 games, we're 7th in pace. Wait, no, 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 sorry, sorry, sorry. Nope, nope, that's a mistake. The last 3 games, we back to 27.
Mm.
Um, but I would like to see us play a little faster.
Oh, and I forgot when I was talking about career years, Deuce as well is having a career year. You made me remember when you talked about him in that lineup in the
Mhm.
lineup. But yeah, he's having a career year as well. And OG, right? Hey, so all of
It
our
looks like
starters
OG's coming back to earth the past 2
the
games.
past 2 games, absolutely. I was gonna mention that. I mean, let's talk about it. What's your thoughts on that? Because it felt like, prior to the last 2 games, it felt like OG. It was what he had the 40-point game, and then since then, right? So it might
Yeah,
be three
it's a
games.
40-point game.
He
Mhm.
had the 40-point game, and then I think it's been 3 games since then that he's kind of fell back down to earth. He's been on the floor a lot the last 2 games. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like off of offensive moves. You know what I mean? Like
Right, not even off of, like, coming down with a rebound or something or a layup, right?
yeah, trying to get to the paint, trying to back somebody down, whatever the case.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
just been like it's almost like I don't want to say it, but it's almost like something with his legs going on. Like why he keep falling? You know what I mean? Um, You think he could get back to where he was in that a couple weeks ago? He was like, oh, I think OG found a stretch. He had a bunch of 24, 25 point games in a row. You know what I mean? Like aggressiveness was up. What I will say is these past 2 games, his aggressiveness, oh my god, aggressiveness hasn't decreased. You know
right.
what I mean? Like it hasn't been as good of a performance, like the shots wise. But you think he'll get back to that? You know, he was on pace to get in the 20 points a game average.
Yeah. For me, I'm more into his process. Some nights the shots are gonna fall. Some nights it will fall, some nights it won't. But is your process the same? Yeah, are you taking the same shots? Are you being aggressive and assertive? Are you, reading the defense and figuring out what they're giving you? So it's not about, oh, he was scoring 30 or 20 and now he's only scoring 10. If his process is the same and it seems like it is, then I'm good. Then I'm good with it. He's just not hitting shots, but he's taking the same 3 pointers. They're just not going in. He's driving with the turnaround fadeaway that's now coming up short. Um, He's driving to the basket and missing. But he's doing the same things. It's just not falling. So yeah,
Still, I
I'm
think
good.
he's still leading the league in dunks, which is
Okay.
a good thing to see. You know what I mean? Like he's still getting his
Hmm.
dunks over the past couple of games. It's just the midi and the you know what I mean the layups or whatever or the contested layups.
Right.
JJ, I'm gonna get to that when in a second when we talk. I mean not JJ. My bad. Shout out to JJ though.
JJ.
Parrish. I'm gonna get to that in a second when we talk about Orlando and that game. Um, oh damn, I lost my whole train of thought now. You was just talking about what was you just talking about, Queen?
I was just talking about that. I like the fact that OG is doing the same things
Oh, OG,
he's been
yeah,
doing over this good stretch. It's just that the shots aren't
yeah.
falling.
I've been saying all year, like even in the midst of OG's great stretch and the midst of Mikal, not playing great, that I thought they're still gonna keep going. They're gonna be, what I mean, I think they both could kind of get to close to 18, close to 20 points a game by season's end. OG and Mikal.
Mikal.
Yeah. I
So that's a lot with Towns and four players 20 plus. I mean, it's
no,
possible.
yeah, I'm saying close to 20. You know what I mean? Like 18 point whatever. I think they'll be around there with what I mean with some games, some stretches, 30 here, 25 there. Um, but yeah, let's talk about them. You missed my last show and it was a short one, but oh Brunson and Towns as a duo, you know what I mean, 25 plus points per game for both of them. Um, it's great to see because we've never seen it as Knicks fans. From a guard and a big perspective. I think we've seen it with like Amari and Melo.
Hmm.
That you know what I mean. But I can't say enough about Towns. You know what I mean. Like shout out to Brunson,
I'm glad you came around, Tony.
Eastern Conference Player of the Week for Brunson. But
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean. Like Towns has been like a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean. Like and
Yeah.
honestly, I'll be honest. Like when I was down on Towns, the biggest thing was like the amount of money he makes. But I don't even know why I've ever said that because normally my stance is that ain't my money. You know what I mean? And I think what I always thought was paying somebody that amount of money would hinder us from building. But
Hmm.
when we built everything and then brought him in, I never looked at it from that perspective of you know what I mean. Like we're not really we're almost done building in a sense. You know what I mean. Like when we brought him in, it wasn't like we were bringing him in and then trying to fit the pieces around him. No, he came to a situation already. You know what I mean with Brunson here. Um, and I'm not gonna argue it yet, but there's people out there arguing. Towns is our best player. Um, I like what Tim. I like what Sim said. Brunson is our leader, no matter what. Towns might be whether he is or not. But what's your thoughts on that? The people out there saying, Towns is our best player. Um,
I mean, to me, to be a he's probably I would still say it's Brunson only because I don't think Cat can be a hub on defense like the Joker is. Like when you look at Joker, you say the Joker is the best player on his team. It's because you can actually run your offense through him and everybody play off of him. And because he's so deadly, particularly not just his skill level, his decision making to be
mhm.
able to decipher what needs to happen. I'm not sure Towns is at that level. Where say you didn't have a Brunson and you had another type of point guard. I don't know if he could be that type of hub. Because when you're talking about in the playoffs, somebody being your best player, that means when the game is on the line, that's the guy you're going to go to who's going to either make the shot or make the decision for you. And I just think Brunson has the edge in that department.
I agree. I mean, he has the edge. Number one, because that's his role pre Cat, right? Um,
But when
I
a
do
better player comes in, your role can change, though.
that's 100% true. But I mean, also being the point guard, being the guard, he has the advantage there in having the ball to make the decision. Well, I mean, obviously the coach could be like, "Hey, this is the play," but you still got the ball in your hand. What I will say about that though, because I agree, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. We also haven't seen Cat be put in that position, right? So it would be interesting, like even if
Not
Brunson
for the
is,
Knicks.
yeah, not for the Knicks.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
Because he
it'd be
doesn't have a history of being a really good playoff performer.
okay. No, I agree. Um, I'm just saying it would be interesting to see, if Brunson is out of game, if that's a direction we go. You know what I mean? That like that's where I'm going with it. Not even full time, or what I mean, like changing the pecking order or whatever, but because I think he's capable skill set wise, right? Um, a lot of that has to do with IQ. I definitely would give Brunson the edge in,
Mhm.
in that, you know what I mean? But as a point guard, that's supposed to be an attribute. You know what I mean? That's something that you gotta rely on in that position. So I think even if we did it with Towns, it's something he would have to grow into, right? It's not something it's not something that would come natural, or it may come natural as he gets older though, because as you grow, you know what I mean, like when he was in that position, he was a pup, you know what I mean, he was a young guy. You're gonna make young mistakes, like that factor into that anyway. As he gets older, I would think his basketball IQ has grown, you know what I mean, like he'll be better at those decisions. And it would be nice to be able to utilize him, not full time, but in stretches, you know what I mean, as a
No
change
doubt about it.
change of
As a change.
throw the, yeah, throw the defense off. Y'all used to Brunson being in those positions, and we talk about helping Brunson getting off the ball a little bit. That would help too. So I think it's something that we could potentially use as a tool in the toolbox.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. When your center is your best player, though, you better be super, super, super special. Because look at Embiid. You just operating in such a small area on the court, you're easier to guard and you're easier to limit. That's what happens when your best player, um, is a center. But I can I comment on something Paris
Yeah,
Lemon said?
absolutely.
All right. Knicks score more efficiently per 100 possession with Sims at center over Cat. Brunson nor Cat need five out defense to dominate. They just need defense and rebounding. That is correct. Brunson and Cat can dominate whether it's a five out or not. But what about the other players? When you look at the offense, it's not about what your best players can do. Your best players always going to be able to get theirs. Brunson had an MVP, not an MVP. Brunson was an all-star, had one of his best seasons when he was playing with Randall, um, Mitchell Robinson, and RJ Barrett. Not a lot of space in that lineup, but he's good enough to be able to get his shots off. The five out offense, though, is not about Cat and Brunson. The five out offense is about the opportunities it affords the other players.
we we always talked about um RJ needing space to get, I mean, to get to the rim, and Randall needing space to get to the rim, and I mean, people always threw Mitchell Robinson as a guy who hindered that,
Right.
because of him clogging the middle. So I agree in that
Th-
sense.
Look at the year OG is having. You don't think it's because he has the space to operate in the key to be able to go to the rim at will? Who's there? There's no center there. The center is out there with Cat. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not about those two, it's about what it opens up for the rest of the team. The other thing it does is in the playoffs where they hunt your weaknesses, They're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to take Sims' guy. Basically, you don't even have to play Jericho Sims when he's in the game. So on the offensive end, you can use Sims' guy to double team Towns, to double team Brunson, to roam, because he doesn't have to pay attention to Sims. So this is what I'm saying about the trade-off. Yeah, you're gonna be better on the defensive end, but you're gonna be much worse on the offensive end, particularly with Sims, because you're not getting anything offensively. So I'm all for it, Paris Duggar. If the lob threat is not going to be enough, Jericho Sims, yeah, I don't think the lob threat in the playoffs is going to be enough. That's not going to hold somebody.
Mm-hmm. That's something
Nobody's
that'll
going to.
help.
Hmm?
It'll help in spurts. It's
It'll
not
help in
something. You know what I
spurts.
mean, it's not going to be like,
It's
oh
not the
my,
same as a
Lob
five-out
City.
offense. Correct. So I'm for Paris Duggar. I'm all for playing Cat and Mitch and Cat and Sims in spurts and having that flexibility. But full time, no. The Knicks' other defensive players, and again, this is to me the over reliance on Cat's the problem. Cat's the problem. Cat's the problem. Cat is not the only problem with the Knicks' defense. You know? So the rest of the players have to get it together as well. The Knicks as a team have to get it together. You're not going to lead me to believe the problem with this defense is just Cat. You're just not going to get me to believe that.
I was looking at a stat. I think it was Friday or Saturday, and it had like our best lineups, our best offensive lineups, and defensive lineups.
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting because somebody else was pointing out how we had a better offensive defensive rating with Deuce McBride playing with the the rest of the starters than we did with in place of Mikal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they failed to show that the next best lineup after that lineup
Mm-hmm.
was um Deuce playing in place of and OG not on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So our top two, I mean our third and fourth best lineups was Deuce on the floor, but either Mikal off or OG
Or
off.
OG off.
And the one with OG off was more minutes played. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? It's slightly not as good as with Mikal off, but it was it had like almost 100 more minutes. You
Right.
know what I mean? Collectively.
Right.
So it was just interesting that a lot of blame getting put on individuals, but when you look at like people down on Mikal, but when you look at the numbers with him and Deuce on the floor together and OG off, they were almost identical to with Mikal off and OG off. I
And one of
mean
those
OG
lineups
on.
had Cat at the center.
Yeah. Yep.
One
Absolutely.
of those lineups had Cat at the center.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those lineups was
Deuce.
Brunson and Deuce. Yep.
So
Listen.
it's just interesting. It may be something that they got to figure out with Mikal and OG to kind of figure. You know what I mean? To kind of
Mm-hmm.
it may be their roles when they're on the floor together. You know what I mean? Maybe it has to be inverted. Maybe OG needs to take on that defensive assignment,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, but it was just an interesting stat. Wait, he said Sims is starting now.
I'm fine if Sims start. I think
Like you said, 15 minutes.
how many minutes are they playing together? It doesn't matter. I've seen Sims start and Isaiah Hartenstein come in the game 5 minutes into the game. And at the end of the night, Sims only have 15 minutes. So to me, it's about how many minutes they get together.
Oh, and we've seen we've seen. I mean, this year's past, but we see Alfred Payton play
The
2 minutes,
first and third quarter.
play 2 minutes, and it's like that's it. We good.
Yeah,
start
I
the
just
fourth
said,
quarter.
yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly.
Um, let's talk about this Orlando game, and we'll get out of here. They're a threat. They're a threat. I think this is our. I mean, obviously, this is one of our most important games of the year. I feel personally. Um, if we have aspirations to win the cup, this is important. Number one, this is a team that's ahead of us in the standings right now. Um, this is a young team that arguably I've never felt this way, but arguably lost their best player and started playing better. I've always thought Franz was better. I thought
Mhm.
Boncaro will be better at some point. You know what I mean? But Franz is um I always thought he was the guy. He was the guy that threatened me the most, or I felt like he was their best player. And he's getting his just due now. Like people are starting to recognize it.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're a good team, a good young team. I think they're. I know at one point they were number one in defensive team in the league. I don't know if they're still number one, but I'm pretty sure they top five. Matter of fact, they are because they're the best defensive team. We're the best offensive team, and we're facing up. So that's clash of styles. Um, yeah, this is an interesting matchup. I don't think
Mhm.
we take them lightly, considering where their standards are, what
Hmm.
they've shown from last year to now. Like no signs of taking a step back. Everything looks like they moving forward. What do you think about tonight's game? It's a tough game to me. I'm not gonna even undersell it.
Yeah, I will say this about Ben Carroll. Just because a team does well in somebody's absence doesn't mean that player is not that player. We've had the experience on the Knicks of picking it up when one of our best
Hmm.
players is out. Ben Carroll is that dude. That if they're gonna win in the playoffs, they're gonna need both of them for sure. Um, I like the matchup. It's gonna be a challenge for us because they're a really good defensive team, and their offense is not on our level,
Hmm.
but it might seem like it given our defense.
Hmm.
you know?
And their strengths are kind of our weaknesses, and especially in the 3-point shooting area.
Mhm.
Like we can't. It can't be swing, 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 open shot every night for every time for them because they will
Right,
hit. They will hit it.
right. Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a challenge for us, but it's gonna be a challenge for them too. So offense, defense, matchup, though I don't think they're where are they ranked offensively, do you know? They
I
might be
don't.
ranked
Yeah,
better
they
offensively than we are defensively.
defensive. I would bet money on that. I would bet money on that without knowing. I would, you know what I mean? I would think they're definitely a better offensive team rating wise than we are a defensive team rating wise. So yeah, I would definitely agree
Yeah.
without looking it up. Um and yeah, I wasn't knocking Ben Carroll, by the way.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he's nice, but I don't think he's seasoned enough yet. Like you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like when you start talking about the prime, when the physical abilities and your mental are in line at the same level, I think he has a lot of growing to do from the
Mhm.
IQ side, and that's not even knocking that. That just comes with time, and I think Ben Carroll, I mean the other dude, Franz Wagner, has that.
Yeah.
I've always liked him though. Him and his brother, underrated. I thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, another tall team too. Like that was one of those things that all right, we got Mikal, we got OG. This is what they're brought here for, right?
Mhm.
I like the fact that I think, especially with Ben Carroll out, I think OG gets that matchup for the best guy tonight. I don't think we're putting Mikal on
Mhm.
Franz. I would hope not. I would put OG on Franz, and I like that matchup better. Um, I'm not worried per se.
They
I
got a
just
lot of bigs. They got
they,
Gaga over there. They got Wagner. They got bigs. And like I said, it's good to have that versatility to be able to play a big lineup. It's not something I would want to live with because I think it makes us easier to guard for them.
mhm.
But it is good to have that versatility. When Mitch comes back and Precious comes back, you're gonna have even more versatility. So, tonight we may go Sims and Cat, and like I said, I'm all for it. I'm just not all for it depending on how many minutes we're talking.
Yeah, JJ said they starting three guys over 6'10".
Yeah. 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 So I mean, I think starting, whether you start him or not, playing Cat and Sims some minutes together, I mean, I think that's fine.
Um, I know a lot of coaches and a lot of people aren't a fan of adjusting your lineup based off your opponent. Um, how do you feel about that? In general, like if this was a lineup adjustment, starting lineup adjustment based off the opponent, as opposed to this is something Tibbs wanted to do and now he's just getting, you know what I mean? What are
I,
your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't do it. They would have to force me to do it.
So like almost in
I
a
wouldn't come
series.
into a game already conceding that, we're not going to be able to match up with them. Because the flip side of it is they're not going to be able to match up with us either.
Hmm.
The flip side of it is that whoever's guarding Josh Hart is going to be able to get the rebound and go the length of the floor before that person is able to respond. So we have advantages as well, right?
And the fact that you can make that substitution at any point
And you
anyway.
can make
So
that substitution. Why they not thinking that they need to go small, right? Why we got to think we got to go big? Why they not thinking, yo, this offense is potent. We might need to go small. You understand? So no, I'm not changing anything
giving
until
a coach,
I have to.
giving the other coach a mental edge, you know what I mean?
Correct.
Like, oh, they
Right.
conceded already? Okay.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. They
And
would have
yeah,
to
and we
show.
haven't played them this year. So yeah, I
Yeah.
feel you. I feel
Yeah.
you. I feel you on that.
Now and if they show it, then yeah, then we can make the change.
Yeah. Shout out to Ron, still Knicks fans. He said plus Franz is listed at 6'10", so OG might match up. But yeah, I agree 100%. I think that's the better matchup. A lot of times this year, and this is one thing I've given Mikal defense about. A lot of times this year, like his matchups fluctuate in the sense that, you know what I mean? It might be a 6'3" guy, it might be a 6'7" guy. Like he's getting that toughest assignment night in, night out. And it's not like he's playing the same type of person night in, night out. Like it ranges. So
Right.
sometimes it'll be a strength for him. Sometimes it'll be a little bit more difficult. Um, so you got to always kind of try to put some context in his performances. Go ahead, you could read it. Wild
Wild boy
boys.
Trey, we might run the Magic off the floor with our small lineup. Let's stop being so negative. Like going into the game thinking that, oh, we're gonna have a problem. We're gonna have a problem. We're gonna pose problems as well. It works both ways.
Agreed. And last year, like they were one of the teams that I was concerned about because of their size.
Hmm.
Um, that was pre OG, that was pre Macau. So I'm definitely not as concerned with them as a team. Like even a like potential matchup in the playoffs in the future, I'm not as concerned as I was in years past.
Hmm.
Like because I do think we got a lot taller as well. You know what I mean? Like when this year compared to years past. But you know what I mean? I gotta give Orlando they props. Like
No
they have
doubt.
no fall off from last year, and it seems like they taken a step forward. You know what I mean? Like they one of them young teams. The way guys were, the way people been talking about. I'm not putting them on OKC level yet, but the way people have been talking about OKC
Hmm.
and Minnesota and these young teams that are showing improvement early, like I think you got to give Orlando that same type
Hmm.
of respect. And there's other teams that haven't really taken that. You know what I mean? Like they talked about Atlanta a few years ago. They didn't continue to take them steps. They talked about Indiana last year. I don't think they're playing as well as they've played in years past. So yeah, I like this game tonight. This is one of the bigger games to me of the year. Um, whether it was a cup game or not, but the cup game also. You know what I mean? I want to win that. I would like to win that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think a point I wanted to make um, is that defensive. This is off what we were just talking about. Is that defensive chemistry is a thing. When you look at Minnesota, who had the number one defense last year, Cat is no longer on the team. You're not going to tell, and Cat is a purported weak defender. You're not going to tell me that the reason they went from 1 to 12 is because they no longer have Cat. No, the reason they went from 1 to 12 is now you have to reestablish your defensive
Chemistry.
chemistry.
Hmm.
And I think that's the same thing that's going on with the Knicks. They have to forget reestablish. They have to establish a defensive chemistry, and it's just not there yet.
And I mean, it's warranted without Mitchell Robinson being available, who is the lone remaining defensive. You know what I mean? Like integral piece that we've had over the last couple of years. With Precious not being there as well, because again, I think Precious being able to play alongside Cat with OG and Mikal, I think that's a dynamic we haven't even obviously we haven't even seen yet. You know what I mean? But I think that could help us in that in that area where we're talking about protecting the penetration to the paint. You know what I mean? Like preventing Cat being so relied upon
Mm,
as a last line of defense. And you could always swap that as well with Precious playing some minutes at the five, and he's an adequate um shot blocker. I won't
right.
say rim protector, but he could block shots. You know what I mean? So I think that's a whole nother dynamic that can help in an area that we've been lacking. So
Yeah.
so
And then I also read today, this has nothing to do with our defense, that the Knicks are still, hoping Shamit recovers and joins the team. So this team is 12-8, and we don't even have our full complement of players. How we're playing now is not going to be how we're going to be playing with Precious, Mitch, if Shamit is able um, to return. So to your point, like you mentioned earlier in the show, there's still a lot of possibility for this team on both the offensive and the defensive end.
yeah, and when those guys come back, you know, we can't expect an immediate impact. Like there's going to be an adjustment again to acclimating these guys. You know what I mean? Individually, whether it's Shamit, whether it's Precious, whether it's Mitch, whether it's you know what I mean, a new acquisition. Like
Yeah.
it's going
Yeah.
to be, let's keep it at this 20 games or so. Is you know what I mean, to kind of figure things out and implement these whether it's a new addition or these players that haven't been available. So yeah, we gotta take that into account too when we're assessing. You
Right.
know, Precious been back 3 games and he ain't doing that. It's
Right.
been
Right.
3 games. You know what I mean? So anything else you want to add? I know you just came back yesterday, right?
I just came back
As did I.
yesterday. I'll do my post game recap tomorrow on my lunch break tomorrow, and then tomorrow night because the Knicks play Thursday. The Just Nicking It Weekly Show will do the 20 game recap as well tomorrow night.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. I should make this the show tomorrow night
Oh,
because
that would be
I,
great. We
I
would
I
love to
open
have you.
I open tomorrow, so no late night for me, but I should be available
Oh man, I would love it
tomorrow night.
because I think Jeff either he's not gonna make it or he's gonna be super late. So
All right, yeah. So just
regardless, we would still love to have.
just shoot me a reminder, and I'll be there
Let
for
me
sure
make shoot me a reminder
to
to shoot
remind me.
you a reminder.
Wait, what time you going on? Just so I know, and I could
9 o'clock.
all right, if I'll make sure I reach out to beforehand.
Okay.
Shout out to the chat. Appreciate you guys jumping in.
Definitely.
Look like 50 people in here. Can I let me get 50 likes on the way out?
That's right.
Um, Subscribe if you're just watching and you're not subscribed. That helps. Replay gang. Shout out to you guys as
Definitely.
well.
Definitely.
Um, all the panelists that have showed love over the years. The
EA
shuttles.
Shuttle
You
in
know
the
what I mean?
building.
It's been a minute for you as well. Shout out to Sin.
Shout out to Sim.
Hopefully, I can make the post game losers lounge. We might have to squeeze that in sometime tomorrow as well, because like I said, I'm first day back to work. I'm back at 5:30 in the morning. So,
Right. Right. Right.
um, but yeah, appreciate you guys. Salute. Until next time, yo, blackest time. We out of here.